Microsoft Word 2003, formatting text. Okay, you've gone through 10 videos, you're on video 11, you're like, when is Chris going to talk about formatting? Well, guess what? You found the right video. We're going to take a look at how we format our text in this particular one. So we're going to hit the ground running when we get into our formatting of our text by taking a look at the format toolbar and how we have handy dandy little buttons that we can use to format our text right there in front of us. We'll also take a look at the individual things like fonts, sizing, some of the other formatting techniques we have. Colors and highlights. I mean, we're pretty colorful people, aren't we? So we want to be able to utilize that in our text as well. And then, what if I make a mistake and I want to replace formatting? We'll look at how we can take entire blocks of text and replace it, and or search your entire document and make formatting changes. So without too much ado, let's get started formatting the text that we've got, the content that we have on our pages. Now, you might be recognizing this particular page. It's the one that we use to do research on and adding graphics and doing some other things. But let's say I want to bring up my instrument information sheet here for my Acme Instruments Incorporated, and I want to start doing some formatting. Now, the first thing that you'll notice is that one of the default toolbars that you have up here is the formatting toolbar. Now, this one right here includes where you can open up the styles and formatting task pane. So if I click over here, it opens up all my tasks for styles and formatting. So let me go close that. You also have just selecting a style at any point in time for text by selecting text and then dropping down here, and then you can pick which one that you want to utilize. The next portion you see here is your fonts, and here's where we can change anything from Arial to many different fonts. You can see here I've used Tahoma Small Cap recently, and then of course the amount of fonts that you have here will vary based upon the applications that you have on your particular computer or your laptop. Some of the, like Alba and Alba Maber or Alba Super or whatever it is, all these things are ones that were included when I installed another application. So if you're like, hey, why don't I have Australian Sunrise? That's why. But you would have Arial, Arial Black, Arial Narrow, some of these very popular ones. If you scroll down, some of the ones that are included are Georgia, Garamond. These are all fonts that you will have. Mine, of course, I've got a couple of other programs installed, and so they install these fonts for me. But to change fonts, that's up here. You can also change the size of your font by selecting here on the font size. Then you can change it to bolding, italicize, underline. You can change the format, as we'll see a little bit later in our paragraph formatting chapter. That you can do things like align it. You can do line spacing. You can add numbered lists, bullets. You can increase and decrease the indents of your text. Right now, this text is not indented, which means it's pushed in. Right there, you can add some borders, you can highlight, and you can change the font color. Well, let's do a couple of basic things just with the text itself from the toolbar. And then I'll show you how you can use the format menu to even get better effects and cool things that you can do. So let's start off right here with our text. So we grab our mouse, select a little bit of text here. I'll go ahead and just drag and select this first sentence. And so that's all you have to do. If you already have existing text in place, it's real simple. You just take your mouse, click it, drag it, and then you can grab the particular sentence. You can also, and here's a little tool tip for you, if I double click on a word, I'll get the word. If I double click 3 times, I get the whole entire paragraph. So it depends on what you want to select. That's a little bit easier than having to click and drag the whole paragraph, and sometimes you get more than what you want. So there's a little tool tip for you. Just double click, you get a word, triple click, and you get the entire paragraph. Okay, I don't want the entire paragraph, I just want a sentence. That I have to click and drag. What a drag, I know. Okay, so now we have many people turn to Acme Instruments Inc. for top quality musical instruments. I want to change the font here. Right now I've got my standard normal text style. Now in the world of Word, your standard normal text style is Times New Roman. That's your font. It's sized for 12 point, and there's no text really, or I should say text effects like formatting, bold, italics, or underline. It's not done. And it's usually aligned left, unless you changed what the normal is. So here we can see I want to change many people. And I don't want to use Times New Roman. I want to use a different font. Now I'm going to use a font that I know that you have, so that way you'll be able to see it. And one of the ones that everybody has is, and it comes standard with Office 2003, is Comic Sans MS. So I'm going to go ahead and select Comic Sans MS. And notice that now my font has changed. If I click off it, it says, hi, you've got a new font. And now that I've selected down here, it reflects that that's Times New Roman. But if I click anywhere here in my text, it's going to show you that I'm now using the Comic Sans MS. That's my font that I'm using right here. Another thing that you notice is my style changed a little bit. It says you're still normal, but you've changed the font. So normal styling plus the comic font. That's what you have right here. So if I select off of it, I selected the title. So if I select back here, you can see your style will change if you just change the font. It'll say normal plus comic, and then it'll add the font. So if you ever want to reproduce this, Word is learning the different types of styles you have. So you can select a whole bunch of text and it will memorize what that format is, and that way you can come up here to the style and change it on your text. Kind of sweet. Now the other thing I might want to do is, even though this looks a little bit bolder, I'm going to go ahead and select it again, and I'm going to change the size of this font. I want this to be a little bit bigger, maybe as a lead-in sentence for my paragraph. Okay, not a problem. I come up here to my font size, I select it, and instead of 12 point, I want 16 point. So I change the size, and notice it only affects what I've highlighted. This is still Times New Roman, it's still 12 point, but now over here I've got Comic Sans along with 16 font size. Maybe I want to italicize it. No problem. I select it again, come up over here, and I hit the italics button, and it tilts it to the right there on the page. So that way you're able to say, all right, many people turn to Acme Instruments Inc. for top quality musical instruments. And so now I've got a nice, maybe introductory sentence that pops off the page. All done by merely simply using the format toolbar that you see right here. Now one thing you can do is, notice I typed in text, then I highlighted it, then I formatted. I can also come down here, let me hit spacebar twice, just to kind of get some space here. Let's say I want to start typing in that text. How would I do that? Well, there's two ways. One, I can come up here to Times New Roman, select, and look at how in the fonts it remembers one of the last one I changed. So if you have 2,000 fonts, I know I'm exaggerating a little bit, but if you have more than 20 or 30 fonts and you don't want to have to scroll all the way down to get to them, it will remember your more popular fonts that you use and place them at the top of the list. I like to use Tahoma small caps a lot. Comic Sans is now one of my popular ones. So I can click on Comic Sans. I know that it's 16 and I want it italicized. I went ahead and changed the format up here without doing any typing yet. Now when I type, I can say, this is what it looks like being typed. See, I've done format at that cursor, and as long as I keep typing, it will continue to do that particular formatting, which could be good, it could be bad. It just depends on whether you want to start typing and type a whole thing in Comic Sans 16 italicized or not. And I mean, if you have a particular, like I like to use Arial font. That's my favorite font. I think it looks a little cleaner. It doesn't look so typewriter-ish with Times New Roman. I like Arial, a little softer font, but that's a personal preference. I just go ahead and I start at the beginning and I change my font to Arial, and that enables me to go in and then just start typing. Or some people will go ahead and they'll just type the text out, they'll highlight stuff, and then they'll make formatting changes as they go along. Whatever your, pick your poison. However you want to do it, you can do it. And that's one of the powerful things that we can do with Word. Now remember, I did say there were two different ways that I could just start typing with a different format. One was how I did it down here by placing my cursor and making the changes. So if I place my cursor, the other thing I can do is go up and use one of the styles that I have here. I can click on this down arrow and then pick something that I want to use. Maybe I want to scroll down here. I got a ton of them here. But maybe I want to do message header. And so I can come over here and I can start typing in this is a, whatever it is. And you can notice that it will automatically start putting in a format, and then I can start typing in it. That's what styles are good for. And we're going to take a closer look at styles in another one of our videos here about how we can manipulate them and change them. But there's very cool stuff that we can do here. I'm going to go ahead and undo all of that by simply clicking on my undo button. Again, our friend, especially when it comes to making changes on format and going, oh, wait a minute, I didn't want to delete that, or I didn't want to change that. So one of the things, though, I do like changing is, if you notice, this is all pretty much plain black text. What if I want to make it nice and colorful? How do I do that? Well, remember, we saw up on our format bar the ability to change colors, which is right here, font color. I can change the font color. Now, red, I don't know. I don't think that's a great color unless you want it to be red, but I'm more of a blue fan. I like sky blue, and if you watch the Excel 2003 video series here on CBT Nuggets, you'll know I really like sky blue, just one of my favorite colors. So if you look at this, now that I selected that color, and notice it remembers the color that I like. It's now changed my button so I don't have to use the drop-down menu to sky blue. So I can select off it, and it says, look, I've got it sky blue. Many people turn to Acme Instruments. I can also come in here now and highlight this and do the same thing. Click the font button, and now I don't have to do the drop-down menu and select one because it remembers what my favorite colors are. So let me go ahead and undo that and show you one other feature that you can do. A lot of times, you might want to be able to go through and just highlight certain aspects of the text, like a good editor. When we get into the editing and the formats and the how to put comments on it, you'll see there's a way that you can highlight and do things, but sometimes you just want to highlight the text anyway. You can do that with the highlight feature, which is right up here. You got highlight, and again, it just deals with which color you're using. In this case, yellow. If I want to go, I want to change this, what types are available, or I just want to highlight it, I come up here, I can select yellow, or again, I have a selection of a couple of different colors here. I can gray it, I can do it in bright green, that's always a nice color. And notice though, instead of keeping it highlighted like I did down here, watch this. If I highlight this and I make a format change, like font color, it remains highlighted, or the text is selected, I should say. But watch this, let me take that off. When I click on what types are available, and I want to highlight it with a color, it automatically highlights it and then moves the cursor to the end of that line. A little interesting, strange behavior that you might be thinking, well, wait a minute, do I still have that text selected? Maybe not. Make sure that you check it out. Make sure that you're not doing a highlighting instead. So you can change some things like this and add highlights. You can add different colors. Let me go ahead and undo all these. So we're back to where we are. Now, another thing you can do that's fairly interesting is you can come in and you can find certain formatting and change it throughout your entire document. So if you want to search for and replace one format with another, you just simply use the Find and Replace dialog box, pretty much the same way you would to search for or replace words or phrases. And you can also use the Reveal Formatting task pane to find all the text that has certain formatting and then change that formatting at once. And that's what we want to do. So in this case, maybe I want to change all formatting that has this Comic Sans MS with the italics and 16. I want to change the font to something different. Maybe I want to change it to Arial or to Garamond or something like that. All I need to do is, once I have the text, and I usually select a word like this because it has all the features, the italics, the Comic Sans, the 16. And now when I come up to Format, there's a button here. You can either hit Shift F1 or you can select right here and say Reveal Formatting. When you do that, it opens up the Reveal Formatting task pane. And notice here you got a lot of task panes just like you do in all the other offices. And it says here's your selected text. And here is the formatting of the selected text. It says here's the font, the language. You can come down here, you got the indentation. All of this is set up and it tells you different things, what section it is, the margins, the layout, all different, the formatting of the selected text. And so here we can see this is what it currently is. And now I want to make a change to all text that is just like this by utilizing the formatting and the reveal or the replace and search functionality. So I want all the selected text like this. I can come down here and I can say select all text with similar formatting. Watch this. Boom. It finds it in my entire document. This is all of my document. So if you've got a 350-page document and you want to turn all of the Comic Sans, because it's not professional looking, to Arial, you can just do this. Then I click on the font, make the change that I need to do. Let's scroll up here, and where's Arial? There's Arial. So notice it says, okay, this is the TrueType font. This is what it's going to look like. Watch what happens. I click OK, and all of the highlighted text that has that formatting has now been changed based upon what I've done. Now, if I want to, I've got, if I can change the italics to maybe bold italics. Look at that. It changes that. Let me go ahead and close this. I can always bring it back. But look at all the cool things you can do. No longer do you have to go in and hunt and find all the individual things, use the formatting, then find and replace the next text as well. If you want to search for a specific format, you can do that as well. All I need to do is click on here, come up to Edit, click on the Find and Replace, and you'll see, and by the way, if you don't see this options, these search options and the replace options, it's because this button has been pressed and you need to click on the more. So what you can do is come up here and you can say, all right, I want to find a particular font and I want to go ahead and replace it. So we can come in here and we say we want to replace with the format. You know, we got the format is the font is Arial. So we come up to Format, Font, and we can say, all right, what do we want to find? Let's say we want to find all italicized fonts. So I click OK. Any format that you have the font italicize. Okay, so this is just showing us right here that this is what we want to use with our replacing. Now, if you want to, then you can replace with something just by simply clicking down here. Now, notice I'm clicking down in the Replace With. So I come down with Font, I come here, and I want to replace it with Regular. So I click OK. It says you want font is italics, you want it not bold, not italics. Go ahead and replace all. And it says, all right, I've completed my search of the document, and I've made 3 replacements. So you can use this as well. Now, it just depends on what you're more used to, how you want to do it. We click OK. It then brings back our dialog box if we want to make any changes again. So I'll close that again. But look, let me scroll up. Here we now have our font here again. It's now Arial. There's no bolding. There's no italics. It's all set and ready to go. And I can do this throughout my entire document, whether it's big or small. So what did we accomplish here today? Well, if you've been paying attention, and I know you are, we took a look at the Format toolbar and how we have at our fingertips one of the default toolbars is that Format toolbar, and we can do things like font changes, color, we can do bold, italics, underline, a lot of different features, including, as we'll see in other videos, we can do things with our paragraphs and our text indentation. Then we saw that we can change our fonts, how to do the sizing, some of the other formats that we had. We took a look at how we could do some color changes. Maybe you want to change the color of the font to something different and highlighting. Then we finished it up with how we replace that formatting. The client doesn't want all Comic Sans. It wants all Arial. No problem. We can replace formatting throughout the document either by using the replacing task pane or by utilizing find and replace features. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.